Hello students, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, I will be discussing from chapter 20 to chapter 22. And yeah, so I hope you like the video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, I will be very happy if you do that, and also share my videos with your friends who also might find these helpful. So see you next time. See the video before going and I will see you next time. Okay, bye bye. We'll be starting our chapter 20 from Things Fall Apart, and we will discuss chapter 20, 21 and 22. So in the last chapter we got to know that Bonko has been living in his mother's village during his exile, and the period that he spends there is productive for him, in the sense that he does contribute to the society in some ways. He rebuilds his house, he sows his crops and things like that. He works in collaboration with his relatives there, but at the same time he keeps on facing this antagonism within himself, because he thinks that the people of Mavanta, they're not as active and as aggressive towards the foreigners as they should have been, and this really disappoints him. And the last thing that happened, and the situation is more complicated. It's made more complicated because of the arrival of the foreigners, or the arrival of the Christian missionaries who have brought a new religion, and news has been coming that they have erected their own justice system as well, and their own prisons as well in Mofia. And Konko, he is unable to come to terms to everything that has happened so far. So that is kind of like the background. And as he is, about to return to Mofia, and he is ready to say goodbye to these people, he gives a huge feast for everyone, to his, for his relatives, and he bids them goodbye finally. Now part 3 has started, and part 3 has started, right? Yes, part 3 has started, and he comes back. Bongo comes back to Mofia, and when he comes back, he has these hopes of getting incorporated back into the society right away, which seem to be very optimistic. Like, he seems to be very, very optimistic, because that is unlikely to happen. So the first plan that he has to kind of launch himself, or relaunch himself, or kind of rebrand himself for the society, is to get rich husbands for his daughters, okay? So that his daughters get married to rich people, influential people, and in that way Akonko as well will be accepted back into the society, okay? And he has very high hopes for that, because he has two grown-up daughters. But that is also, it doesn't really happen that way, and Konko has to face huge disappointment from his former clansmen. Why? Because now things aren't that simple anyway. Now you know that the conquerors, or the invaders, the Christian missionaries, they have already arrived at Mofia, and the very fabric of society is changed, and it is changing constantly, right? So now the hierarchy is also disrupted. Okay? It is not the before, those men who were, hard and fast traditionalists, they used to be in power, and Okonkwo used to be one of them. Okay? They used to be the supporters of religion, they used to be the supporters of old traditions and that the society had, and things like that. But now missionaries are gaining more and more power, okay? And more people are converting to Christianity, and this means that the more people that are going on the other side, it also means that they are these people, these Christian missionaries, these Christian people, they're gaining more power on the political front as well, okay? Because obviously the number of converters was increasing constantly. And the most surprising thing for Okonkwo to see was that even influential men were now converting to Christianity. Pehle kya tha? We had discussed this thing in detail, how only those people were converting to Christianity which were dissatisfied with their social status. Okay? And they were usually disregarded completely by the Igbo people, by the African people. So those people, they wanted, obviously everyone wants rights, everyone wants equality, everyone wants respect in society, and a stable future for their children and everything. But so these people, those people were converting to Christianity in order to get some kind of leverage, in order to have those rights that they were denied throughout their lives. But now things were changing so fast that even influential people, they were also converting to Christianity. Okay? And that's very, very strange. That was so strange for Ovirika and Okonkwo too. Now this is the discussion that there's going to be a discussion between Ovirika and Okonkwo, and we are going to discuss it very soon. I think it's going to be in the following chapter maybe, or in this chapter we will see. But here it is discussed how things were changing. Okay? The church had come and led many astray, not only the lowborn and the outcast, but sometimes a worthy man had joined it. Such a man was Ogbuefi Aguna, who had taken 2 titles, and who, like a madman, had cut the anklet of his titles and cast it away to join the Christians. Now, this man, he had 2 titles, right? And he was a very wealthy man, and he was a very influential man. Lekin usne kya kiya? He realized that joining the Christian missionaries, joining the white people, was way better than showing solidarity with his own people, because he knew that more benefits were there. The earlier he joins the outsiders, the better, right? These people, why do these people join the other side? Okay? Obviously everyone wants political, social and religious power, right? And joining the other religion means laying a claim towards the authority that religion exercises over a certain community. So here, these people, they actually are far-sighted in that way. Okay? They know what's going to happen very soon. They know that the hierarchy will be completely changing in the coming days. So in order to have that power, in order to maintain their control over the people, it was very important for them to always side with those who are in power. Okay? The power जब change होती है, तो the followers, they also change side very, very quickly. ठीक है? जो तेज लोग होते हैं, उनको पता होता है कि who is in power and who they want to follow and who they want to support. ठीक है? These people who are the insiders, who are actually the insiders, yet they are serving the outsiders, yet they serve the colonizers. These people are termed as compradors by Franz Fanon. Okay? So the term comprador is a very important term. You need to see it in the key concepts जो मैं आपको किताब भेजी हुई है उसमें देखें, उसको डिटेल से पढ़ें कि who are these people and what do they do. वैसे तो हम यहाँ पे देखेंगे what these people will do, but you need to read it on your own as well. So the white missionary was very proud of him. He was one of the first men in Ethiopia to receive the sacrament of Holy Communion or Holy Feast as it was called in Igbo. Ogbuefi Ogona had thought of the feast in terms of eating and drinking, only more holy than the village variety. He had therefore put his drinking horn into his goatskin bag for the occasion. So when this person, Agwana, when he went to that holy communion, and when he went to the feast that was arranged for him by the missionary, what he did was he wore his he basically took his drinking horn and he went there in his whole attire. So for him it was simply the matter of enjoying food and drinking and having fun. Now he could have that fun with the African people as well, and he could have that fun with the English people as well. Okay? So wherever there is benefit, wherever there is fun, wherever there is political clout, these kind of people will gravitate towards that party. Okay? No matter who that party belongs to. But अच्छा आप ये भी देखिए कि the white missionary यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, the white missionary was very proud of him and he was one of the first man in Ethiopia to receive the sacrament of Holy Communion or Holy Feast. अच्छा एक जो मज़े की बात है वो ये है कि do you remember when those Osu people came and they joined Christianity, were they given the same treatment? Or when the common people they went and joined the church, were they given the same treatment? No. Why is Ogona given such a warm welcome, and why is he welcomed so warmly and embraced so happily? It is because of his financial and economic status, obviously. So वो जो ये लोग कहते थे कि everyone is equal in the eyes of God and you're all equal and blah blah blah, that's all bogus. That's all wrong actually, because money does matter, and in every religion, in every society, those who have money have more power obviously. तो ऐसा वैसा कुछ भी ये जो illusion create की गई है ना कि everyone is equal, everyone is going to have the same rights, the same voice, the same representation, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. And here we get to see how people like Novoe were also fooled into thinking that they are going to adopt an ideology, they are going to adopt a religion that is going to give them more rights and that is going to be more just. Okay? Every kind of ideology has its own kinds of flaws and own kinds of injustices that are very very essential to its structure. So now जो claims होते हैं वो अलग होते हैं, लेकिन जो implementation होती है वो एक अलग किस्म की होती है. तो this is how it is going to be now. But apart from the church, the white man had also brought a government. They had built a court where the district commissioner judged cases in ignorance. Now this is very very interesting because as we had discussed in the previous chapter as well, the people, these white people, they had also brought a government. Okay? So obviously they were supposed to bring a government. They had brought a religion, so obviously the government had to follow. They had actually sent the religion so that government could be established. Now what they were doing was that they had built a court where the district commissioner judged cases in ignorance. Why has Achebe said that the district commissioner judged cases in ignorance? It's because the district commissioner had no idea about the customs and the culture of those people, ठीक है, of Igbo people or African people, ठीक है. So those people, the district commissioner didn't care how these people gave punishments to their criminals and things like that. So यहाँ पे क्या होता था कि they would judge cases according to their own law, according to the white law, and if somebody went against it, they would be punished. Now this is very, very strange, because this is again something very, very surprising for these people, because they did not they did not really anticipate it. These court messengers, अच्छा इन्होंने क्या किया था कि after they had established the court, ठीक है, they had put different guards in it, or different messengers in it. Now those messengers who were there, they were actually brought from different villages, from different villages of Africa, which had already been occupied by the colonizers. Now these people, they were called Kotma, right? And the court messengers were greatly hated in Umofia because they were foreigners and also arrogant and high-handed. ठीक है, तो वो उनको दूसरे villages से लाए थे. Those people, those Kotmas, they were not, they didn't belong to the same tribes, and they had no affiliation with these African people, although they were also black and they were also African, but they were trained in such a way, and they were obviously given a lot of benefit, monetary benefit, political benefits. तो वो क्या करते थे कि they would make sure that anyone who is brought inside the prison, they are punished properly. अब यहाँ पे भी आप ये देखिए कि when we are discussing colonization, so that's what Achebe has tried to show us, that it's not only white people who are who are contributing to this oppression, who are contributing to this colonization, but also black people. ठीक है, अब ये देखो ना, ये वाली जो example है Agona की, ठीक है, he has contributed to this oppression. He knows that his people are being colonized. He knows that how black people are going to be oppressed, they are going to become slaves, they are going to be exploited, they are going to be robbed, they are going to be murdered. Yet he has gone to the other side. Why? Because he will be receiving all the benefits, all the all the political benefits, all the economic benefits. ठीक है, and इसी तरह से कॉटमास हैं, एक और एग्जांपल है. ठीक है, ये भी, इनको भी आप कह सकते हैं कि these are also collaborators. ठीक है, so they are serving the white man. Why? Because the white man is providing them with money, and money is enough to sacrifice everything for it, right? They guarded the prison, which was full of men who had offended against the white man's law. Some of these prisoners had thrown away their twins, and some had molested the Christian. यानी कि यही इनके जो भी इनके crimes होते थे, they were judged according to the white man's law, और फिर जो भी उन्होंने किया उसके खिलाफ उसको इनको सज़ा मिलती थी. They were beaten in the prison by the Khatma and made to work every morning, clearing the government compound and fetching wood for the white commissioner and the court messengers. Some of these prisoners were men of title who should be above such mean occupation. They were grieved by the indignity and mourned for their neglected farms. क्या हुआ कि अब अच्छा उनको prisoner तो बना लिया. Now what were they made to do? They were made to work. This is the very initial form of slavery. ठीक है, आप ये देखिए कि this is very initial form of slavery. This is very preliminary form of slavery, because here the people, they are also made to believe that they are kept there because they have been doing bad things, and as a punishment for those bad things, as a punishment for those crimes, they are made to work. ठीक है, any wageless, they are made to work any any wageless job. और job क्या है? उनके लिए खाना बनाना, उनके लिए काम करना, ये करना होगा. So you see how slowly and gradually slavery is being imposed here. ठीक है, through law, and it is also legalized. यानी कि कह रहे हैं कि हम तो ठीक कर रहे हैं, मतलब हम तो, उन्होंने गलत काम किया, हम उनको सजा देंगे. अब ये पूछने वाली बात है कि who gives you authority to come into these lands and take authority over all these people and impose your law on these people and make them prisoners and make them serve you. ठीक है, the same thing happened in the subcontinent too. इसी तरह से ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी आई, इसी तरह से उन्होंने सोल्जर अंदर लाए, इसी तरह से उन्होंने लॉ अपना इम्पोज कर दिया था. I have heard, said Conco, but अच्छा यहाँ पे this is the conversation that I was talking about between Okonko and Obirika, and they are discussing how things have changed and how people are reacting, and how colonization is spreading, how the white man's rule is spreading day by day, and how the white people are becoming more and more powerful, right? तो इसमें Okonko उससे कह रहा होता है ओबरिका से कि what's the problem, why people aren't doing anything, why aren't they resisting, why don't we just go out and kill these people, why don't we do anything. तो इसमें वो बातें उनकी डिस्कस हुई. I have heard, said Okonko, but I have also heard that Abem people were weak and foolish. Why did they not fight back? Had they no guns and machetes? We would be cowards to compare ourselves with the men of Abem. Their fathers have never dared to stand before our ancestors. We must fight these men and drive them from the land. Now, this is what Okonko believes. He thinks that violent action needs to be taken in order to, counter these white men. And Obirika is trying to make him understand that things have gone too far now, and people of Abem, there's an example that we have in front of us, that is Abem. The people of Abem have suffered so much because they tried to resist the colonizers. So Congo ख्याल में it is foolish to compare the people of Abem and the people of Amofia, because in his point of view, people of Amofia are much stronger and they have this ability to fight back and they have this ability to resist. Okay, but Obirika doesn't think so, and from the very beginning, Obirika has been one of those men who rationalizes things too much, and not too much, but he always has this rationalized or rational kind of an approach towards these things. I would like to ask you, who do you think is right in this scenario? Should direct action have been taken by the people of Amorphia, or do you think that they could not do anything to resist? And in order to understand it completely, you may read Fanon's view on violence, what Franz Fanon has to say about violence. In his book, The Wretched on the Earth, he talks about it at length, okay, about how violence is sometimes used to, counter violence, how violence may be justified and how it is not justified in the context of colonization. So you need to basically read up on it, okay? Send me an email what you think about it. It is already too late, said Obirika sadly. Our men and our sons have joined the ranks of the stranger. They have joined his religion, and they help to uphold his government. If we should try to drive out the white man in Amorphia, we should find it easy. There are only 2 of them, but what of our own people who are following their way and have been given power? They would go to Umuru and bring the soldiers, and we would be like Abem. तो वो कहता है कि नहीं, अब तो हमारे अपने लोग ही, अभी हमें कुछ पता नहीं है कि कौन से लोग जो हैं वो उनका साथ दे रहे हैं, कौन से नहीं दे रहे हैं. And most people have started giving their taking their side. So it would, I don't think that we can now rush. We can now drive people out. We can now drive the colonizers out, because their influence is far-reaching, and they have completely infiltrated our ranks and our society. The case of Aneto, the man who was hanged by the white man as a punishment. Okay? अच्छा, अब ये अनेटो का क्या केस था? You have to read it. Why was he hanged? ठीक है? And what was the problem? What happened? How? What was the sentence that was given in his case, and how it was carried out? How can he when he does not? अच्छा, यहाँ पे Obirika, he is talking about द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कमिश्नर. तो वो कह रहा है कि बेसिकली द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कमिश्नर ही डजंट नो हाउ टू judge the cases because he is not one of us. He doesn't understand our language. He doesn't know the customs of our people. जो कि मैंने बात पहले भी की थी, right? So he's saying how can he when he does not even speak our tongue? But he says that our customs are bad, and our own brothers who have taken up his religion also say that our customs are bad. How do you think we can fight when our own brothers have turned against us? The white man is very clever. He came quietly and peaceably with his religion. यानी कि चुपचाप करके वो religion के साथ आया. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to say. और हमने कहा कि चलो बेचारा ऐसे ही you know क्या बगाड़ लेगा हमारा. और आके हमने उसको रहने दिया. Now he has won our brothers and our clan can no longer act like one. He has put a knife on the things that held us together. And we have fallen apart. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे the title is alluded to, you can say, or its significance is made clear because as I told you earlier in one of my earlier lectures as well, that the title Things Fall Apart, it works on several levels. So it is related to individuals as well, and it is related to the society as a whole too. Like it doesn't just have one meaning. It can be applied in various different contexts and can have various different meanings. So we can say that for Conco too, things have fallen apart because his life has fallen apart. For Amosia, life has fallen apart. Their culture has been abandoned. Their customs have been challenged. And things like that. And so it works on multiple levels. Now coming to chapter 21. Now this chapter is also very, very important because here we get to see Mr. Brown. And who is Mr. Brown? He is basically there is this concept of good cop and bad cop. यहाँ पे जो Mr. Brown है, he's kind of like a good cop. Like he's very pleasant, he's very polite, and he has his own agenda, but on the surface he's very, very polite. मतलब कि कोई बड़े नरम अंदाज में बात करते हैं और ये जो बातें करते हैं वो काफ़ी प्रॉब्लमेटिक होती हैं. The introduction of Mr. Brown, the harbinger of economic growth and prosperity in Amokia, and hence generally considered harmless by the natives. तो आके ये सबको बड़ा वेलकम करते हैं, बहुत पैसा लगाते हैं अफ्रीकन सोसाइटी पे. ठीक है. अक्सर लोग होते हैं ना, वो कहते हैं कि ये होता है कि हाँ तो ये कॉलोनाइजर्स आए थे तो उन्होंने इतना ज़्यादा रिफॉर्म किया, टेक्नोलॉजी लेके आए, ये लेके आए, वो लेके आए. वो लेके जो आते हैं ना उससे ज़्यादा लेके जाते हैं. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे वो ये वाली चीज़ हो रही है ना कि how he is going to behave. Now there are different strategies that these people use in order to establish their control over a case, over a territory. So one strategy that we have discussed is religion. ठीक है. ये ideology आप कर रहे हैं. Doesn't have to be a religious ideology. Ideology in general भी हो सकती है, कोई भी ideology हो सकती है, चाहे वो communism हो, चाहे जो भी हो. ठीक है. या वो कोई religion. एक तो ideology. उसके अलावा another strategy is violence. ठीक है. Anyone who does anything against your wishes, punish them. ठीक है. यूज़ वायलेंस ऑन दैम. इससे भी आप लोग को डरा सकते हैं. एक तरीका होता है आइडियोलॉजिकल, आप उसका ब्रेन वॉश कर सकते हैं. एक होता है आप उसको फिज़िकली आप उसको ऑक्यूपाई करने की कोशिश करें या उसको रोकने की कोशिश करें. अनदर थिंग इज़ मनी. Money is the strongest and the best strategy to gain power over a territory, over something, over some place. So what he does is that he presents a very friendly face of Christian missionaries, a friendly face of white government. ठीक है. friendly representation. अब वो करते क्या हैं, आते साथ वो बहुत ही फलाह और बहबूद के काम करना शुरू कर देते हैं. इनफैक्ट ही इज़ वेलकम्ड इन द अमोफियन सोसाइटी. इतने वेलकम किए जाते हैं कि लोग उनके लिए गिफ्ट्स भी लेके जाते हैं. इफ़ यू रीड द चैप्टर केयरफुली यू विल सी कि यहाँ पे बड़े लोग उनको अच्छी तरह से वेलकम कर रहे हैं. This chapter sheds light on the diplomatic steps he takes in order to create acceptance among the natives for a religion that is still quite new to them. ठीक है, तो पहले तो उनको थोड़ा बहुत फिर भी क्रिश्चियनिटी से कोई डर था, उनको था कि फॉरेन रिलीजन है. You will see how this acceptance is going to grow day by day because of Mr. Brown and the steps that he takes. There were many men and women in Umofia who did not feel as strongly as Okonkwo about the new dispensation. The white man had indeed brought lunatic religion, but he had also built a trading store, and for the first time, palm oil and kernel become things of great price, and much money flowed into Umofia. Their growing feeling was, ठीक है, तो क्या हुआ कि now these people had actually, they had established different markets, different things like that. Capitalism यहाँ पे आता जा रहा है, और उससे क्या हो रहा है कि people were gaining a lot of money. So when people gain money, they are very happy about it, aren't they? Okay, so next slide, where are we going? Yes, so before, obviously they were accepting the religion, but not that rapidly. Okay, and but now the money was also flowing into Mafia, and people were becoming prosperous, and they were actually seeing progress. However, they just failed to notice that it was accompanied by a lot of control, a lot of colonial control as well, but they just chose to kind of ignore it. That's what people usually do. And also they were actually now seeing the outsiders, the colonizers in a positive light too, because of the money. Okay, this was, and now they were actually liking the outsiders, the colonizers. This growing feeling was due to Mr. Brown, the white missionary, who was very firm in restraining his flock from provoking the wrath of the clan. Now, this is very important because you see, in the previous chapters, you must have noticed that there have been transgressions on the parts of the new converts. Okay? Sometimes they would just go out into the clan and humiliate or mock the religion of their clansmen. Okay? Or sometimes they would do. One of the men, he attacked the sacred python and killed it, right? And yet those kinds of events, they were happening before Mr. Brown. But when he came, he ordered his converts, he ordered the Christian people who had recently joined Christianity, who had recently converted to Christianity, that they have to basically restrain themselves and they have to respect the native culture, the native religion, okay, in order to live peacefully with the natives. तो इनमें से एक बंदा जो था वो एनक था, and Anak was known to be a very violent and a very criminal kind of a man, and he had even, he was even rumored to have eaten the sacred python, right? So he also, he was also prevented, he was also restrained from doing anything mischievous to the clansmen. So because of all these measures that Mr. Brown had taken, he was becoming more and more respected, right? So Mr. Brown came to be respected even by the clan because he trod softly on its faith. He made friends with some of the great men of the clan, and on one of his frequent visits to the neighboring villages, he had been presented with a carved elephant tusk, which was a sign of dignity and rank. So yes, this is what I was talking about. That this presentation of gift is very, very important because whenever we hear the story of colonization, the general idea that we get is that the colonizers, they came and they were very violent and they just usurped the land and just occupied the whole territory and kind of established their rule. But it is much more complicated than that. Okay, there were so many people who collaborated. There were some people who even welcomed the change. Okay, the change. There were some people who were even happy that the colonizers had come. They were happy that there was modernization taking place. अभी भी बहुत से लोग जो हैं वो colonization की तरफदारी करते हैं, ठीक है, without actually knowing what it has actually done to people. तो इनमें से कुछ लोग ऐसे भी थे who were presenting gifts to the colonizers. Now one of such people is Akuna, ठीक है. Akuna is one of the village's important man. Okay, he is a man of title, and he, Mr. Brown, he makes sure that he goes to Akuna every now and then. And there is this scene, there is this passage where these people, Mr. Brown and Akuna, they have a discussion on religion. आप ये देखिए कि how there is this back and forth between these two characters, and what does that conversation, what does that exchange actually signify. Okay, they are having this conversation, and it's very, very important because you will see that the questions that Mr. Brown asks Akuna are very, very important. And also एक और चीज़ आप ये देखें कि this Akuna, and another important detail that you have to keep in mind is that this Akuna, this person, he has sent his son to study at a white school, or a European school. ठीक है, तो शुरू से ही. So these are the people that are very clever. They know that once, they understand the shift in power structure, and they are very keen and quick to kind of grab whatever power they can and whatever control they can. So this person, this Akuna, makes sure that he sends his son to one of the schools that the British have opened up, or maybe in Europe. I don't know where he sends him. आप उसको डिटेल से पढ़ लीजिएगा. But he sends his son somewhere. उसको पता है कि मेरा बेटा आज स्कूल जाएगा, ब्रिटिश स्कूल में ब्रिटिश तालीम हासिल करेगा, अगले दिन आके वो रूल करेगा, right? So the new colonial class is being established very, very carefully here. ठीक है. So Mr. Brown जो है वो उनके साथ आके religion को discuss करते हैं, और religion के ऊपर जो सारी उनकी डिस्कशन होती है, इट्स अ वेरी, वेरी गुड डिस्कशन बाय द वे, यू डू रीड इट. ठीक है, तो रिलीजन के ऊपर जो सारी उनकी डिस्कशन होती है, उसका जो नतीजा है मिस्टर ब्राउन जो निकालते हैं वो ये है कि इन दिस वे मिस्टर ब्राउन लर्नड अ गुड डील अबाउट द रिलीजन ऑफ द क्लैन, एंड ही केम टू द कंक्लूजन दैट अ फ्रंटल अटैक ऑन इट वुड नॉट सक्सीड. उनको समझ क्या बात आ गई, उनको बात ये आ गई कि इफ़ आई अटैक द रिलीजन डायरेक्टली, these people would never accept what I am proposing to them, whatever change I am proposing to them, whatever difference I want to make within them. तो क्या उसने किया? And so he built a school and a little hospital in Amofia. ठीक है, तो उसने कहा इस तरह तो ये लोग बात नहीं मानेंगे नहीं. और आप ये देखिए कि ये कितनी स्ट्रेटेजिक मूव है. And all his hospitality, all his geniality, all his politeness, all of those traits that he is exhibiting, they are there for a certain purpose. उसको पता है कि मैं आराम से बात करूँगा, अच्छे तरीके से बात करूँगा, ये ज़्यादा मुतासिर होंगे, ठीक है, ज़्यादा लोग इम्प्रेस हो जाते हैं इस चीज़ से. एंड उसने जब बात की है रिलीजियस स्कॉलर, एंड दिस Akuna, ही इज़ अ रिलीजियस स्कॉलर एज वेल, लाइक ही नोज हिज रिलीजन, ठीक है, इज़ अ वेरी इन्फ्लुएंशियल मैन. ही टॉक्स टू हिम, Akuna के साथ बात करने के बाद Mr. Brown reaches this conclusion that these people are never going to accept this attack on their religion. They are never going to accept this criticism on their customs, on their culture and everything. So what he did instead, he built a school and a little hospital. उन्होंने कहा स्कूल बनाओ, हॉस्पिटल बनाओ, फिर देखो ये किस तरह चीज़ होते हैं. He went from family to family, begging people to send their children to a school. But at first, they only sent their slaves or sometimes their lazy children. Okay? Mr. Brown begged and argued and prophesied. He said that the leaders of the land in the future would be men and women who had learned to read and write. In Amofia, if Amofia failed to send their children to school, strangers would come from other places to rule them. ठीक है, अब ये देखें कि उसने क्या किया, स्कूल खोला और हर किसी के घर में जाके उसने तबलीग की कि भाई मेरे स्कूल में दाखिल कराओ बच्चों को, मेरे स्कूल में दाखिल कराओ. एंड विद this kind of persuasion he was also using coercion. ठीक है, so coercion was also a tool. coercion क्या होता है? when you threat somebody, when you make somebody fearful about the result of anything, कि अगर आप ये नहीं करेंगे तो आपको ये भुगतना पड़ेगा, अगर आप ये नहीं करेंगे तो आपके साथ ये हो जाएगा, राइट. so he actually said to them कि if you don't send your students to our schools now, what will happen is that foreigners, people from other villages of Africa, they will come and they will rule here. यहाँ पे जितनी jobs होंगी, they will be taking those jobs. जितनी यहाँ पे administrative posts होंगी, they will be taking those administrative posts. So what will happen? And these people, they had already witnessed that in that district commissioner's court where people we have just discussed, उनका नाम कोतमा उनको कहते थे. So those people were already there, ठीक है, they were in control, they were doing all the jobs. तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये तो इस तरह इधर होता है, अमूरों में हो रहा है in the court. The same thing can happen here as well. So it's better to send our children and people, our children basically to these schools. In the end, Mr. Brown's arguments began to have an effect. More people came to learn in his school, and he encouraged them with his gifts of singlets and tablets. They were not all young, these people who came to learn. Some of them were 30 years old or more. They worked in their farms in the morning and went to school in the afternoon. And it was not long before the people began to say that the white man's medicine was quick and working. Mr. Brown's school produced quick results. A few months in it were enough to make one a court messenger. यानी कि कुछ यहाँ पे months लगाओ और court में messenger बन जाओ. This is also very very important. कि they were also giving rewards कि हाँ स्कूल में काम करोगे, स्कूल में पढ़ोगे तो आपको jobs देंगे. So people were obviously more fascinated. Who doesn't want to have a job? Who doesn't want to have money flowing in? Who doesn't want who doesn't want a bit of control in the system? So they were rewarding people too. Those who stayed longer became teachers, and from Umofia laborers went forth into the Lord's vineyard. New churches were established in the surrounding villages and a few schools with them. From the very beginning, religion and education went hand in hand. Mr. Brown's mission grew from strength to strength, and because of its link with the new administration, it earned a new social prestige. Because obviously the school that he had established, it had direct link to the court. ठीक है, जो वहाँ से पढ़ के जाएगा कोर्ट में मैसेंजर लग जाएगा. सो एंड इवन क्लर्क बन सकता है, और वहाँ पे जो पढ़ेगा वो इवन टीचर बन सकता है. सो ऑब्वियसली एवरीथिंग इज इंटररिलेटेड. रिलीजन, कंट्रोल, establishment, everything is interrelated, right? So people who rebelled against it, people who resisted this kind of education, they were all obviously the receiving end of violence and discrimination. The same thing was witnessed here in the subcontinent too. Okay, when the British came, Muslims were the ones who just didn't want to do anything with their culture, with their religion, with their education. Okay, they strongly resisted this change. They did not want to learn English. They did not want to go to the British people's schools. They did not want to do anything to do with that had anything to do with the British people. So क्या हुआ कि the Hindus on the other hand, they knew that a change is coming. So grabbing the opportunity, they started learning English. They started studying in English schools. They started competing in the market and things like that. So what happened after some time? Muslims were pushed to the margins. Muslims were marginalized, and the Hindus, they because they had that education, they started getting more and more jobs. They started holding more and more positions of power. तो ये हुआ, और आज तक ये नतीजा है कि Muslims they still resisted. आज भी हम क्वेश्चन कर रहे होते हैं, हमें इंग्लिश सीखनी चाहिए, नहीं सीखनी चाहिए, क्यों सीखी नहीं, अभी भी हम कंफ्यूज हैं, राइट? तो वो जो इफेक्ट, और अगर आप इंडियंस को देखें तो दे स्पीक इंग्लिश लाइक इट इज़ देयर नेशनल लैंग्वेज, है ना, उसको बिल्कुल उन्होंने उसको इंडिजनाइज करके सारा. Anyway, so this is how change is brought. This is how colonization came to Africa, and it had many forms. ठीक है, religion के form में अलग से थी, education के form में अलग से थी, ideology अलग, और violence अलग से जा रही. So, and these people who actually took part in this education, who actually took part in this whole process, this whole endeavor, they were the ones who were actually benefiting from all this. They were the copper class, जैसे मैंने पहले भी mention किया. Here you can see these questions. इसको देखें कि why did he think that was the wrong year to return? Okay, let me see how many. Okay, a few slides are left. So, अच्छा, chapter 22 is significant because now Mr. Brown is dead and he's gone. ठीक है, इसकी तबीयत ख़राब हो गई थी, उसका काम वैसे भी पूरा हो गया था, उसने जितना अचीव करना था उसने अचीव कर लिया था, राइट. सो मिस्टर ब्राउन इज गोइंग अवे. Now he is changed, like now he is replaced by Mr. Smith, ठीक है, James Smith. अब ये जो James Smith है, इसकी ये बिल्कुल different है, ठीक है. Where Mr. Brown was very polite and he was very kind apparently, मतलब on the surface level he was very kind, very amiable, very nice, ठीक है. Mr. Brown is the opposite, ठीक है. वो जो है ना, वो उसका ये था कि anyone who doesn't agree with him needs to be punished and needs to be put in his place, ठीक है, even killed. Right, so he had a very extremist kind of an outlook to Christianity and to this whole conversion thing. Right, पहले तो आके when he came and he saw the people who had converted to Christianity, उन्होंने कहा कि ये कौन अजीब लोग जमा कर रहे हैं. Right, what's the point of converting so many people who don't even know how to pray, who don't even know how to do anything, who don't even know how to read Bible, ठीक है. तो पहले उसने कहा कि these people should be cleansed, and people who are Christians, they should be proud of themselves and they should live there very proudly, and they should they should behave the way they want to behave. तो क्या हुआ कि the overzealous converts who had smarted under Mr. Brown's restraining hand now flourished in full favor, ठीक है. तो वो लोग जो कि पहले थोड़ा सा अपनी हद में थे, and the people who were not really being violent, although they wanted to be mischievous, they wanted to attack the clansmen, they wanted to attack their own fellows कि अब भाई हमारे पास power है तो we should kind of exhibit it as well. What they were doing, they during Mr. Brown's reign they were a bit controlled, ठीक है, अपनी हद में रहते थे. But when Mr. Smith came, and he was a very extremist kind of a person, he also allowed these people to do whatever they wanted to do. तो क्या हुआ कि इन्होंने पूरे खुल के इस तरह की हरकतें करना शुरू कर दी, जहाँ पे they started bullying because they knew that they were powerful now, right? One of them was Anak, the son of the snake priest, who was believed to have killed and eaten the sacred python. Anak's devotion to the new faith had seemed so much greater than Mr. Brown's that the villagers called him the outsider who wept louder than the bereaved. Right, तो उसने मतलब वो इतना ज़्यादा क्रिश्चियन था कि क्रिश्चियन से भी ज़्यादा वो क्रिश्चियन लगता था. जैसे होता है ना कि हम यहाँ पे कहते हैं कि ये जो हमारी एलीट क्लास है ये इतनी ज़्यादा एंग्लिफाइज्ड है, इतनी ज़्यादा वेस्टर्नाइज्ड है कि ये वेस्टर्न पीपल से भी ज़्यादा वेस्टर्न हमें लगते हैं, ठीक है, इनकी हरकतें. तो दिस इज़ व्हाट दे आर सेइंग एक्चुअली कि ये जो इतने मतलब क्रिश्चियन, जो रियल क्रिश्चियन है, जो बॉर्न क्रिश्चियन है, वो इतना ज़्यादा जेलस नहीं है. बट ये जो अनेक जैसे लोग हैं, इनको पता नहीं क्या मतलब ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा कोई जेलस हैं, ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा मज़हब के ठेकेदार हैं. एंड पीपल हु आर एक्सट्रीमिस्ट इन रिलीजन, दे आर लाइक दैट, ठीक है. दे बिहेव एज इफ दे आर द वंस on whose shoulder there is this responsibility to be very proactive, about their religion and to spread it and to kind of sometimes marginalize other people who do not believe in their religion, right? कुछ लोग इस तरह के होते हैं, violent किस्म के. So अब इस बंदे ने, ये जो violent बंदा है, what does he do to the Igbubu? What is happening? Why are there Igbubu around? What does he do? How does he how does he create this mischief? And as a result of that mischief, what happens, okay? And why do these people of the village, they gather around and finally decide that they need to kind of desecrate, or they need to kind of tear down the church, because they gather around, all the villagers, and they go to Mr. Smith and ask him to remove the church and kind of demolish it. And obviously they don't want Mr. Smith, he doesn't allow it to happen. तो उसका result क्या होता है कि these people they get violent, the villagers get violent, and they demolish the church. ठीक है? So this is what happens in this chapter, and this is what this lecture is all about. What you need to do is that you need to read the details that I've missed out, especially about this event with the book book, what happens with the book book, especially that discussion that Akona and Mr. Brown had. All these things are very, very important, and questions may be asked towards them. And even if questions aren't asked about those events specifically, though the complete understanding and the thorough reading of these events will help you form your answer and argument in the paper or in your assignment, if you are given an assignment in place of a paper. So read those things thoroughly and ask questions, right? And before asking questions, थोड़ा सा खुद भी इसके बारे में सोचा करें, ठीक है? सोचा करें, research articles पढ़ा करें, ठीक है? So everything doesn't have to be presented to you ready-made, right? You need to do some research about it, or you need to do your own reading about it, ठीक है? So best of luck and goodbye.